He's dedicated his life to providing critical medical support and advancing healthcare services in Jamaica. Through his pioneering work, he has made a significant impact both locally and internationally. My guest today is Jamaican-born physician, philanthropist, and founder of the Jaja Foundation, Dr. Trevor Dixon. I'm Archibald Gordon. This is Profile. Dr. Trevor Dixon, welcome to Profile.
Thank you. It's a privilege, a real privilege to be on this program.
It's our privilege to have you, especially given this resume. And I want to share a little bit of that with our viewers before we go into some of the details of it. So Jamaican-born physician and philanthropist based in the United States right now, founder and chairman of the Jamaicans Abroad Helping Jamaicans at Home, or Jaja for short, foundation. And we'll talk a little bit about the work of that foundation and how it kind of just came about organically. Attending physician at Jacoby and North Central Bronx Health Corporation of New York. In the pre-interview, you said you were never meant to be a medical doctor, so that's going to be interesting when we talk about it later on. Director of Emergency Ultrasound and Assistant Professor of Emergency Medicine at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine. Over 29 years of experience in diagnostic medical ultrasound, and you've led numerous successful initiatives in Jamaica, including the Jamaica Emergency Medical Services NIGRIL First Responder Pilot Project. And, you know, as part of the work you've done, donated millions of dollars in medical, dental, and educational supplies through the Jaja Foundation. All of this goes back, though, to Manchester. Let's start at Manchester before you come here. You grew up in Manchester.
And not just Manchester, Archie, but Christiana, Manchester. And Christiana is a very special place. That's where I was born. And I spent the first 10 years of my life, you know, with my grandmother in Christiana.
You said first 10 years of your life with your grandmother, but where were your parents?
My parents had already migrated to the States. They left England and pretty much dropped me off with grandma, and they went on to make life a better life for us in New York City.
What were they trying to do?
I'm not sure, but my mother was a nurse. So I think they were trying to, you know, find a proper home, because there were five of us, you know. So I think she wanted to make sure they had proper space for us, you know. It's not so easy to rent a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment on early immigrants. So they left me with grandma. The first 2 daughters went over, and we were the last 2, my sister and I, Geraldine. So we came maybe 4 or 5 years later. Well, 10 years for me, yeah.
And I want to talk about, you know, growing up in New York, but first let's talk about growing up in Jamaica. What was that experience like?
It was fun. Country life, you know. You get up in the morning, you know, you go to school, you know. But in the summertime, on summer breaks, you went to the river, catch banga, you know, you play football, you do track and field in the yard with all the other kids, you know. So it was pretty much a free and open land, you know. We had catapult and we go shoot birds and stuff. So at 10 years old or 8, 9 years old, it was a good life, free, until I came to the States. It was a lot different.
How was it different?
Well, we moved into New York City, East Flatbush, off Church Avenue, and I guess it was a challenging time for grown-up kids in the city. I mean, we often say the city's not made for kids, you know. It's like a concrete jungle, so to speak. So my father would say, you see that gate there? Don't go inside the gate no matter what you do. But I would still, you know, I know what time my father came home. My father would come home like clockwork. He was a good father in the sense that, you know, he was always home. There was a lot of restriction because of the crime and the ills that children can face living in the city. So they try their best to give us that balance. And so when I came to the States, you know, he didn't want me to play sports because, you know, I went to a local school, Wingate High School, and he thought it was kind of dangerous, you know, the things that happen, activities that happen around sports. I mean, I couldn't blame him looking back, because there was one time I went to a track practice, and one of the guys got shot.
Wow.
So, Wingate was a volatile school. It's basically a Caribbean West Indian school, and the guns were very much at play back then. So I can understand his fear at times.
And the upbringing was also different from the perspective of the amount of time they had to spend with you.
Absolutely.
Because they were working so much. Your mother, you said, was a nurse. Your father was working in the security field. He'd been a policeman.
In Jamaica, yeah.
In Jamaica. But how does that compare with your grandmother and what was she was doing, the time that she had to spend?
Well, my grandmother was home all the time. So, and you speak to the elders back in Christianity, they say, yeah, man, he was always underneath his grandmother frock tail. So, I mean, I was a grandmother's child, and she was a banana producer before. She was a banana producer and potatoes and ginger. So I got to see, how she made a living. She worked hard. She was very organized, and she always left something for those who were less fortunate.
Now you go to East Flatbush, very different community, very Jamaican, very Caribbean as well. Mm-hmm. Describe it for the viewers who are not as familiar with it.
Well, let's just say when you're in East Flatbush, you feel like you're still in Kingston, okay? Because it's very much a concrete structure, not much grass, and you do city things. There's a lot of music is a big. I grew up around a lot of music because I grew up on Church Avenue near Utica Avenue, and all the producers were on Utica Avenue. So it's kind of like being in Kingston, away from Kingston. So when you come to Brooklyn, you can keep your accent, you can keep your culture. There are numerous Jamaican restaurants there, so you don't have to be anything but Jamaican when you're living in East Flatbush.
Now, at the same time, your parents were very, serious about instilling the value of hard work in you at the same time. So very early on, you had a job at a bakery.
Yes, St. Jago Bakery on Church Avenue and 48th Street, East Flatbush. And I think my father knew he wanted to keep me busy. He didn't want me around kids with sports and to be influenced because I was very much strong with my Jamaican culture back then. When I went to high school, I used to go to the parties and DJ. They used to call me Trevor Culture. So a lot of my friends today, they'll say, hey, Culture. And people are like, Culture, where did you get that name from? But that's how I was growing up in East Flatbush. So my father said, you know what? I need to find some place where he can be away from all of that. So he got one of his friends from England, Mr. Benny, had a bakery on Church Avenue, St. Jago Bakery. And at 14 years old, 13, 14, I started my first job, buttering the pans in the bakery, preparing them for the next day's hard dough bread. And that was my job, and I had a job for about 4, 5, 6 years while still going to school.
All right, I want to talk a little bit about the going to school because, meet a lot of people and they're like, at 8, I'm going to do this, at 10, I'm going to be this, and at 20, I'm going to be doing this. But that's not your story at all. And we'll talk a little bit about how that unfolded. But we have to take our first break on Profile. My guest is Jamaican-born physician, philanthropist, and founder of the Jaja Foundation, Dr. Trevor Dixon. We're back with you on the other side of these messages. Yeah.